Did you know that Game Freak, the company behind Pokémon, made Sun and Moon 3 times? Many of you are probably confused right now, wondering what I mean. Yes, there's Pokémon Sun and Moon, then there's Pokémon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but what's the third? Well, that answer requires a bit of an explanation. And that answer might make some people upset, but bear with me. I promised I'm going somewhere with this. Pokémon Ultra Sun and Moon were the last mainline Pokémon games on handheld consoles, and they were pretty great. The story, the music, the Pokémon, the atmosphere. I mean, look at this background. Mind you, this screen is a resolution of 240p. Most of your TVs are over 3 times the resolution. I'm not sure why everyone is so reluctant to say that they like this series of games, when the main complaints I hear are the ridiculously long cutscenes and some lag here and there. Which, spoiler alert, it's not gotten any better. As for Sun and Moon and the Ultra games, whether or not you agree with them releasing the same game twice, I want to remind you that they've done it before. Hell, they made Gen 1 like literally 5 times over. But I can forgive that because they don't market it like it's a brand new experience. In a way, you can argue that every Pokémon game is the exact same. But every new generation still at least adds new stories, Pokémon, items, and mechanics. If you handed Scarlet and Violet over to someone who's only played Pokémon Red and Blue, they might have a heart attack.
What do you mean I can't catch them all? What do you mean Twin Needle, the only bug-type move in Gen 1, was removed? Why does it sparkle? Is it sick or something? What is Pokérust? Did my game get hacked?
Anyway, to go back to my previous point, I don't think it was smart of the Pokémon Company to release Sun and Moon 2, the Electric Boogaloo, and treat it like it was some gift from God. But hey, they made money, and it was still within the Sun and Moon era, and it still did add and change enough that I can kind of excuse it. A little.
Get on with it!
Okay. Sun and Moon 3 is Sword and Shield. Now before you fire up your pitchforks, hear me out. Please. For some context, I have played every mainline Pokémon game from Red and Blue all the way up to Scarlet and Violet, as well as most of the spin-off games, with one exception. Sword and Shield. I always swore that I would never play these games, but I could never pinpoint the exact reason why I hated them so much. But one day, while I was listening to a Pokémon music compilation, it hit me. I heard Oleana's theme, and I had to do a bit of a double take. Those violins. I've heard them somewhere. I am probably far too familiar with Pokémon music, and every game has its own distinct sound and vibe, even when games share the same sound font, like with Black and White and Heart Gold and Soul Silver. But this was... If you copy the homework, change it just enough so they don't notice. I spent some time listening to Oleana's theme, then some time listening to the Aether Foundation grunt theme, and the progression, the tone, the violins were just too similar to ignore. But Oleana's theme was just worse. The violin section was just about the only thing it had going for it, while the Aether Foundation theme was memorable throughout, I felt, at least. So I did the unthinkable. I listened to the Sword and Shield soundtrack. And frankly, it kinda sucked. Now I will admit there were a few themes that I thought, okay, I can get behind it. But the more I looked into it, the reasons I like those parts is because I like the parts of the songs that it included from other games. I started finding elements of music from Gen 5, Gen 4, Gen 2, every gen, not just Gen 7. Sword and Shield had such a mismatched, terrible soundtrack, at least in my mind, because that's what it was. A mismatch of every soundtrack before it. But let me connect more Gen 7 specific points. The story is the same. An evil team who are literally just a bunch of punks and aren't really doing much harm. They're just really loud and obnoxious. Another team who are actually evil, but you're not supposed to know that they're evil. But the team leaders have a very weird obsession with literal aliens. Furthermore, the rivals are all connected to the evil teams in some way, and most of them have parallels to each other. like Bede and Gladion with their similar dramatic character changes and their standoffish attitudes, Hop and How, and even Marnie and Lily to a certain extent. But that's certainly not all. Game-exclusive gym leaders are like game-exclusive totem bosses, raid battles literally just being glorified totems in the first place. Hop is literally How with recycled animations and everything. Having 2 female professors 2 generations in a row, even if Burnett wasn't the main one in Sun and Moon. Having rare or exclusive encounters hidden in the grass, the first bug-type Pokemon were finally something other than bug flying 2 generations in a row, having special encounters in specific rippling fishing spots, technically being able to access fully evolved Pokemon at the beginning of the game through SOS battles in wild areas specifically, having an encounter with a legendary Pokemon right at the beginning of the game, having Pokemon hide in berry trees or bushes, being able to find baby Pokemon pretty readily available in the wild, which is a surprisingly rare trait that these 2 games share. One of the first regional Pokemon forms available in both games are both Dark-type first-root Pokemon, Gigantamax moves working almost exactly like Z moves, fighting wild Pokemon as part of a gym trial/challenge. Both Chairman Rose and Aether Foundation's buildings put an importance on elevators for some reason, and that's just some of the most obvious things. I'm sure there are many other connections that can be made, especially with generations other than 7. However, I don't want it to seem like I'm just stretching it more than I already have. I do want to clarify that just because I think Sword and Shield are really weak games does not mean you are wrong for liking them. I'm not going to tell you not to like them, I'm simply expressing why I personally think these games are particularly bad entries. Now, I do acknowledge that these games were probably so uninspired because the technical leap from the 3DS to the Switch is huge, but that's exactly why they made the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee games. Those were remakes of existing games that they could test the hardware on. Personally, if you had to ask me, I think it would have been better overall if the Let's Go games were never released and Ultra Sun and Moon was given another year of development or so that it could be turned into a Switch port of sorts instead of recycling so many features for the next generations. Then maybe they could have pushed back Sword and Shield another year? But when in the last decade has the Pokemon Company made decisions based on quality instead of quantity? I can complain all day about how much I think Pokemon has become recycled or how it doesn't really have that exciting spark anymore, but I know that at least right now, none of that is going to change. As long as every game with the Pokemon title continues to sell well, more lackluster experiences are going to be cranked out every few years or so. It's sad to end it on a depressing note, but as of right now, I think Pokemon games are not really going to get any better because of how much money they're still making. And let me tell you, it's far more than they made on the quote-unquote good games, that's for sure. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think I'm wrong? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.